So this is Books and Beverages, and I'm Fred Kumalo of City Press. So our guest today is Arthur Goldstuck, an author of world renown, an experienced journalist, and a whiskey connoisseur. And so he is going to give us the lowdown of writing books, understanding AI, and of course, washing it down with a bit of whiskey.
Thank you, Fred. It's an honor to be with you here, and it's a pleasure as well, and a pleasure in more ways than one. Of course, we have some whiskey to taste, so shall we go straight to the whiskey?
Sure.
This is called Rhino, and I first came across it at a whiskey shop that whiskey connoisseurs will know. It's called Wild About Whisky in Dullstroom. And I saw it on the shelves, and I thought, that's interesting. I've never heard of it. And I looked at the bottle, and it said that it's been bottled to enable the donation of proceeds from sales to the rehabilitation of baby rhinos that had been orphaned in South Africa.
Wow.
I was determined to find out what is the source of this because it was so delicious. And the more we drank it, the more we introduced friends to it, and the more they enjoyed it, the more we felt there was something special behind it. Mm-hmm. So my friends at Whiskey Brother, which is Johannesburg's leading whiskey store, where if you really want to explore single malt whiskey, that's where you go and you chat with the guys there. Neil Patterson, one of the founders, said that he'll give me some clues as to where it comes from. And they were involved in bringing in the whiskey into South Africa. They weren't involved in bottling it, but they assisted in bringing it in and distributing it to raise funds for the Rhino orphanages. So now I have to refer to my notes to just make sure I get it right, because you don't get this whiskey, but it's a whiskey distillery in Scotland called Kininvie, Kininvie. That's a sister distillery to Glenfiddich and Balvenie. So the people who own Balvenie and Glenfiddich are William Grant and Sons, who also, by the way, do Monkey Shoulder.
Oh, okay.
So, and we're getting it at a very special price when you're paying 500, 600, 700 rand for it, because when they make their own whiskey, you're looking at 10 times that price.
I'm looking forward to it.
So on that note, shall we try it?
Yeah, sure. You lead the way.
That's the beauty of whiskey, Fred. Every whiskey has a story. So this one has an amazing story because it's contributing to the care of orphaned rhinos, which is something very special.
Yeah.
They say you must drink whiskey the way you like it. On that,
Thank you.
slant, as they say
Slant,
in
yeah.
Scotland.
Okay.
Honey notes, vanilla notes, if you look for those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. AI is a scare word to many people. Oh, this thing is going to take our jobs. Oh, this thing is going to obliterate this industry. There are many fears, maybe unfounded. Just explain it to us. What can we, as human beings, as people who in the industry, as just ordinary citizens, what can we benefit from AI, or what are we going to lose?
I'll go back a step and mention that the reason I took to computers so easily and to AI so easily was because I grew up reading science fiction. And I was always a science fiction fan. I always wanted to be a science fiction writer.
Arthur Clarke and all of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein were the names that I grew up with.
Yes.
And I imagined a future that was like what I was reading about in the books. The positive aspects, because a lot of them were apocalyptic, but some of them were quite utopian.
Yes.
And when computers emerged, it was something that I wanted to be part of. But I came to AI quite early. It was baked into science fiction early on, computers that think for themselves. It was a staple of science fiction. But by the early 2010s, in particular, you could see AI starting to be used in the real world in fascinating ways. It wasn't accessible to you or I, but you could see the big companies applying it to big issues. And one of the key areas, for example, is weather forecasting, AI is a critical part of modeling the weather, for example.
Okay.
But in the early days, you needed very powerful computers. It took a long time. It was very expensive. And then gradually, as the software became better, the computer chips became more powerful. It became easier and cheaper to use it for such tools. And once you're using it for weather modeling and mapping and forecasting, you start using it for medical applications as well. And you start using it for traffic management. Not here, but certainly in countries where they were at the cutting edge of it. And my real epiphany, you could say, my breakthrough in thinking about what it could do was with the 2014 World Cup, because I'm also a big soccer fan.
Okay.
So,
what's your club?
Locally, sadly, it used to be Wits University, the Clever Boys, and then they sold the franchise, and now they've kind of resurrected it as a student team working its way up. So I still have hopes for Wits to continue coming up.
No. Then you shouldn't have come here. We are Orlando Pirates here.
No, I saw that. So my daughter is studying at Stellenbosch University, so I now also watch Stellenbosch FC very closely.
Yeah.
I don't go with the mainstream.
Okay.
And so as a child, the team I chose internationally was Chelsea.
Okay.
Because that also wasn't the mainstream. I didn't want to be where everybody else was. So everyone I knew was the red teams, all the red teams. That start with A, L, and M. I won't mention names. So I went with Chelsea, and for 27 years we didn't win anything. So when people more recently said to me, "Oh, you support them because they're winning everything," well, I went through the hard times, even in the second division. So I'm not making any apologies for being a Chelsea fan, but I hope to be a Wits University fan again one day. The reason is because my journalistic career actually started on the student newspaper at Wits University, covering soccer, traveling with the team. So how could I not be a fan? I didn't play. I played at school, but I wasn't good enough to play beyond school. But I became almost a team member of Wits University, traveling with the team bus to all their away games and so on. So, but let's talk about 2014, the World Cup finals in Brazil. And I cottoned on to the fact that the German team was working with a software company called SAP, who are known for enterprise software, enterprise resource planning, they call it ERP. But they also were very involved in analytics. And they developed an analytics platform for assessing all the moves in a soccer game, and therefore being able to tell the team manager who was doing what and how and what their performance was, and analyzing the opposition teams to see what their weaknesses were. And they were able to show the Germans, firstly, how to enhance their tactics, but also what was the weaknesses of the opposition, and in particular the Brazilian team. Because Brazil that year was one of the great sides in the world, and they had Neymar, among others, as their big star. And Neymar got injured before the semi-finals when Germany had to play Brazil. And the SAP AI tool was able to do an analysis to show where the weaknesses would be in the side without Neymar in the team and without one of their main defenders. I think the captain was also injured before the semi-final, and they were able to show.
So the Germans were using the app?
The Germans were using the SAP AI to show them where the weaknesses would be and how they should adjust their tactics. And bear in mind, Brazil were the favourites, they were the hosts, and they were supposed to be the greatest side in the world.
Sure.
And that game was an earthquake in the history of soccer and of AI. Most people don't realize it. What happened? Germany beat Brazil in that semi-final 7-1. You can imagine the shock.
I remember.
You remember that?
But I didn't know the technological aspect to it.
It took a while for it to filter through, for people to realize what had actually happened. So the final was a lot closer. They beat Argentina, I think, 1-0 in the final. But that semi-final was, I believe, a seminal moment in the history of AI. So that got me very enthused about exploring how AI was being used. And every opportunity I had, I would look into it, interview people, and write about it. And then in 2017, I was very fortunate to be invited to Las Vegas for the annual conference of a company called Amazon Web Services. It's Amazon.com's cloud computing division.
Okay.
They in effect invented cloud computing, and they also a little known story. They built their first cloud platform in Cape Town because the guy who took the idea to Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, was an ex-South African by the name of Chris Pinkham, who had been based in Cape Town. He had worked for one of the first internet service providers in South Africa. It was called UUNet Internet Africa. Don't know if you remember that far back in the early 90s.
So where is this guy now?
He moved on from there to go work for Amazon in Seattle, and he proposed an architecture for something called cloud computing to Jeff Bezos. Jeff said, go for it. And Chris said, there's a great pool of talent in Cape Town, let's go and build it there. So the first Amazon Web Services Development Center was in Cape Town, and that's where they built the original cloud for Amazon Web Services, which today still is the biggest cloud computing provider in the world. So a lot of South African connections there. But what happened in 2017 at their annual conference in Las Vegas is that the CEO of Amazon Web Services unveiled a new stream of software applications using AI. And there were 5 big AI tools that they announced. And I wrote in my column, I write a weekly column for the Standard Times that looks at what's coming next in technology.
Yes.
And I wrote in my column that week that it looks like science fiction, but in 5 years' time it'll be mainstream. This is November 2017. What happened in November 2022? ChatGPT was launched. I didn't predict ChatGPT, but I could see that within 5 years something had to happen. It was so big. So that was my personal success story of anticipating the future. So when ChatGPT was launched, and then Google launched their version, Microsoft launched their version over the next few months, I started getting interviewed by everybody about AI. What is this thing called ChatGPT? And my daughter, the one who's at Stellenbosch, was listening to one of these interviews and said, you should write a book about this. And the penny dropped instantly. 3 minutes later, I'd emailed Terry Morris, the MD of Pan Macmillan. And a week later, we were in our office working out the first edition of the Hitchhiker's Guide to AI. And now here we are, 18 months later.
So this was the first one, eh?
That was the first one.
Yeah, this was the first
one. And I called it a handbook for all because I wanted to show how anyone can use AI. But I didn't tell that SAP story in there. In this book, the new edition, I tell the story that draws a line from SAP software being used by Germany to destroy Brazil in 2014. But that line extends all the way through to the Springboks winning the World Cup in 2023. And how Rassie Erasmus actually used AI to help him get an edge. The first chapter is the story of Rassie Erasmus using AI to win the Rugby World Cup. Wow. So I think we should drink to that.
Yeah, of course. Let's do that.
I think it will make people better writers if they use it as a tool and not as a crutch. And what I mean by that is they talk about letting AI do the heavy lifting. So one of the things I do in my writing, when I do an interview with somebody, I record the interview, and then I upload it into an online AI tool called Otter, O-T-T.
Yes, I've seen that one. I've seen that one.
The other tools also that people swear by. I enjoy Otter. It then transcribes it. I go through the transcription that it gives me, and I correct it. It doesn't need a lot of correction. Then I take that transcript, I download it, and I upload it into ChatGPT. And I say to ChatGPT, give me all the quotes that relate to, and let's say it's a topic that I identified in the interview that I want to write about. If I interviewed a guy, let's say recently I was at an event in San Diego for Cisco. Cisco is the world's biggest networking equipment company. And I interviewed their head of cryptography, which is the cybersecurity coding division. and I asked him to tell me about what was coming next in the world of computing, in the field of quantum computing, which is the next big thing, which hopefully I'll write about in 5 years' time. And he gave me a fascinating interview, but there was one angle that I wanted to scrutinize, and the interview is quite complicated, and a lot of it I didn't even understand myself. But I then asked ChatGPT to bring out all the comments from the interview relating to this one specific theme. And it gave it all to me, and it gave it to me in a structure. It even gave me summaries to introduce each quote.
Okay,
And I then took that, and I was able to write my column on that without having to go look for everything. What would have taken me 10 years ago, it would have taken me 3-4 hours to transcribe it, and another few hours to find the best quotes. All of that was now done almost instantaneously.
Wow.
So what would have taken me a day to write the column took me an hour to write the column. So those are the kind of uses I think writers are going to find incredibly useful.
Okay.
Where they use it to replace them, though, they will quickly be found out, because AI leaves a fingerprint of all the things that give away something, and there are so many that give away that something's written by AI. So eventually people will catch on to what will give it away, and they'll tell the AI not to do that stuff, but then there'll be other fingerprints that AI will leave. And the thing that writers must be careful about now is that in 5 years' time, the AI will be able to tell exactly which articles were written by AI and which weren't.
Yeah, but I'm just amazed at what this thing can do. And yes, I've been able to, as you observed earlier, to not cut corners, but to save time. You know, it does research so quickly. But of course, it is incumbent upon you as a writer to double check: is this accurate? Yeah. Because the thinking processes and all that takes much longer than just writing the bloody thing.
That's fascinating, because I have to reveal that I'm also working on a PhD on AI.
Oh, okay.
And it's AI in sport.
Okay.
So
which university?
It's through Wits University.
Okay.
And yours?
I did my MA at Wits. I'm doing my PhD through University of Pretoria.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We have to compare notes and have another drink to
Okay.
celebrate when we finish.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much.